84 major roads in the Western Cape remain closed due to severe storms that hit the province. Disaster management teams have been deployed to various parts of the city, including Cape Town, the Heidelberg region and Strand, which are among the worst hit areas affected by flooding. A number of people have been displaced and at least 8 people have died. Let's unpack the story further, get you the latest on these worrying numbers. The Western Cape's Mobility MEC, Ricardo Mackenzie, joins us this morning. Ricardo, I wonder how much of your planning as disaster management, your disaster management teams, would have considered this issue of live wires falling into water that had gathered as a result of the flooding. We know that 8 people dying as a result of this.
Thank you, Michelle, and thank you for having me this morning. That is probably one of the most difficult things for any disaster management team anywhere in the world to plan. Because Eskom, for example, can't access substations because there's still roads that are closed, and it's obviously dangerous for anyone to get there. But I want to share a bit of good news, Michelle. I'm actually next to the N1 at the moment. This road is open. That road was closed as of late last night. I think midnight the guys opened the road. There is some amazing news for anyone traveling into the Western Cape and into Cape Town. So the N1 is completely open.
Yeah, that is absolutely good news. Can you tell us, as we stay on the issue of roads and major roads that have been closed, Ricardo, we said 84 major roads closed as a result of the severe storms. What's the situation insofar as those closed roads this morning?
Well, so far as those closed, well, one you can take off that list. The N1 is open. The N2 you can take halfway of that list because they open up to Botterfield and there's a detour. Some of the smaller and intimate roads like the R60, R62, there are still work being done on this road, but there are detours. So where yesterday and the day before people were completely stuck, unable to get out of those towns due to the heavy rains. As of right now, there are detours through smaller roads, but the majority of those roads are still closed because the engineers, the technical teams must still get in there and trying to do complete assessment and then ultimately get those roads fixed. But it is difficult. As you can imagine, the water is still high, the water must still go down, and for the technical teams to do an honest and complete assessment of those roads, it is extremely difficult and obviously dangerous still.
And the timing of the flooding as well. It came at the same time as a long weekend. How did that impact people getting back to where they needed to be, back home?
I hate to put it that way, but it was the perfect storm. It was really is. Long weekend, heritage weekend. You can imagine South Africans, we love weekends away. It was extremely difficult. People were stuck in the small town, Robertson, Caledon, Montague. I mean, the list was endless. People couldn't go up. We opened up libraries, B&Bs, guest houses were back to capacity. School halls were open to accommodate people. But that is now, the situation has improved significantly with the big roads being open, with the water being stopped. People are just being delayed now. People are not stuck as they were 2 days ago.
Can I get your latest numbers that you have on record insofar as the death toll is concerned, Ricardo? We've got 8 people that have died as a result of live wires in water that had pooled into dams. And we know as well those 3 people who died in that Golden Arrow bus accident. It was, I believe, the day before yesterday, if not yesterday. No, it was the day before yesterday, yeah. So that brings us to 12. Is that where we are at?
The day before yesterday, yes. At the moment, we are confirmed at 11, not 12. Confirmed at 11, but because the situation is fluid and because our guys now need to get into some of these areas and roads where we still have to look for individuals. So unfortunately, the number might climb later today or by tomorrow because now the water is going down. Our management teams, our disaster management teams are getting into those areas, getting into those smaller towns. Unfortunately, the numbers might climb.
I imagine there are still a number of people whose homes were destroyed or whose homes were affected by the flooding, and they're having to be housed in, for example, community halls?
Yes, there are. In Grabo, for example, people are still in community halls. There are very NGOs who are assisting us, our partners in the Western Cape government, to start feeding the individuals concerned. Our human settlements teams are doing a complete assessment. But an honest assessment can only be done when everybody can get into the towns, everybody can get into those roads unhindered. At the moment, there are still trees over some of those roads. Part of the roads, R60, R62, Clarence Drive, for example, Chapman's Peak, that areas that are completely cut off. So it is extremely difficult to give a complete and honest number at this moment.
So insofar as the next few days are concerned, because the visuals we're getting from various areas is that the water is still incredibly high. How long do we wait now for the water to go down, for that assessment to take place, in a context where in many of those areas the ground is already saturated, right? There's been a lot of water in the province over the past few weeks.
Michelle, we are very fortunate. As you can see, the sun is shining at the moment, the weather conditions are improving. So with the water flowing down into the sea and the sun shining, it will go much quicker than we have thought. But we have to give it another 2 or 3 days. But already the weather is predicting rain on Saturday, albeit a smaller amount. But it is extremely difficult to give you an exact day or time, given the horrendous condition we're experiencing.
Yeah, absolutely. The other issue, Ricardo, just in the wake of the deaths we saw as a result of this, we're still seeing children playing in those bodies of water. Surely the advice needs to be for communities to refrain from doing that.
The advice to communities, and thank you very much for bringing that up, Michelle. Please, parents, ask your children not to play in the water. You have no idea what kind of live wire can be laying at the bottom of that water. We ask people, there are people who are trying to be, how to put it, content creators, taking videos next to the river. It is unnecessary. You're putting your life at risk. People trying to jog, taking videos, in roads that are meant to be closed. It is not cool. It is not funny. You're putting our emergency services at risk. Their job is trying to find people who are still missing. Their job is trying to keep the roads open. Their job is trying to ensure lives are safe. And you trying to be tourists on these roads, trying to take content videos, it is not acceptable. We are taking resources that are meant to save lives and take people who want to take TikTok videos. It is not funny. It is not cool.
Yeah, absolutely unacceptable and an unnecessary risk to your life. Ricardo, as we round off our interview this morning, we've seen this kind of weather around the world, right? This kind of inclement weather. In many instances, it's perhaps worse than governments expect. Was the past 2 weeks, was it worse than you expected in the Western Cape? And what are we learning about planning ahead for this kind of adverse weather?
This was the worst. In fact, the SA Weather Service said in this part of the region, the Overberg, Kelden, Swellendam, the level 9 is the highest ever recorded in history. So there is no government in the world that can plan for the highest disaster ever. But we are learning from this experience and how we take it forward and to try and plan as much as we can. But when you have the worst disaster ever recorded, it is extremely difficult to plan for something like this.
Ricardo Mackenzie, let me thank you for your time this morning. The Western Cape's Mobility MEC with the latest on the province there. Some good news insofar as those road closures. The N1 has now been reopened into the Western Cape, and we're told parts of the N2 about halfway open up to Bot River. An important message there as well for you to stay away, please, from any bodies of water. Several people already having died as a result of live electricity cables there.